Hello and welcome to Europe Conversation. My guest today is the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. He is joining us from a secret location close to the front line. And that makes already the point. We are discussing this important topic of EU enlargement with a country during an ongoing war. What a challenging situation and what a decisive moment in history. So, Mr. President, thanks again for joining us. And let's start with a more strategic question. Is joining the European Union the strongest security guarantee for you?
Thank you for the question. Undoubtedly, that is a very important security guarantee for Ukraine. But first, as for security guarantees, I would like to say that the most important thing is the Ukrainian values. Ukraine has chosen to be the EU member through the similar feeling of life, freedom, democracy, humanity, respect to the human rights, just respect to a human, to his or her choice. And that is why we are fighting today for all of that, for our land, for our homes, for the rights and the freedoms of our state. I am now at Pokrovsk direction, and I've come here to support our warriors, our soldiers. Of course, there are some of the issues I need to solve, but the most important thing is the moral support of our warriors at the hottest direction of the combats of the front line today. And believe me, they are at war, not only for the sake of their own families, or not only for their own homes, undoubtedly it is important, but for the Ukrainian future, the future of Ukraine in the European Union.
So you mentioned it, the war seems to be intensifying. Russia fired in October more missiles at your country than ever before. Do you think that the EU is doing enough to end this war?
Russia has intensified only because they don't succeed on the land, in the front line. That is why Putin doesn't have anything to sell to his own society. There is no success, and obviously it is very hard for him. He is spending and wasting lots of people. More than 300,000 of Russians were either wounded or they perished. 360,000 of Russians during these 10 months of this year. This is a huge number. So he started the energy terror. He hits against our energy sector. That is why there are so many missiles. This is the only thing he likes to achieve, chaos, so that people wouldn't have power during the winter without the water supply. This is how he sees his success. But he will not succeed in that as well. We will recover and we will protect ourselves. And undoubtedly, without the help of the leaders of the European Union, it will be very difficult. It would be incredibly difficult, because the systems of air defense, which we are given, and I would like to express my gratitude to Germany. Recently, they gave us 2 Patriot systems, and we are developing them, so they will be working. It's not enough, of course, but still, the whole Europe is helping us, as well as in the gas import, in the equipment delivery, to recover power and electricity supply. All of that is so important, especially during the war. But if we speak whether the EU does enough to force Putin to stop, I think that today, still, we need the US and Europe today. And then we'll have the chance to stop Putin.
And what would you say? Can this war be won militarily? Or, you mentioned the US already, will in the end require a negotiated settlement like as President Trump says it?
Well, the choice of the military way is the choice of Russia only. It started their aggression with that, and without any diplomatic issues. They started it with the military way, and undoubtedly they would like to have the military victory. It will never take place. If Ukraine is standing, if Europe is pressing, does not put up with that, that is very important to solve the issues on the support of Ukraine, that is both funding of our internal production and manufacturing and air defense, what I mentioned before, support Ukraine in all of the spheres. And the United States of America need to be be open to the opportunities of long-distance weapons, long-range weapons. That is very important, even as a deterring factor. We need to have it, to use it. We need the support of the US. We need the support of President Trump about that. And it will be a decisive pressure against Russia. Then sanctions, which are so important. And here I'd like to express my gratitude to Europe, the European Union, for the 19th sanctions package. And Europe as well, because they are not postponing that. They are constantly forcing Russia to decrease their economy, which then it has to spend onto this war. That is important as well. And the latest sanctions of President Trump and the United States of America were really important against the oil companies of Russia. We cannot stop on that. We need secondary sanctions. We need following stronger gas sanctions, and also against nuclear generation of Russian Federation. All of those steps are really comprehensible, but against their military-industrial complex, so that they wouldn't construct and create so many missiles which Russia is using against Ukraine. All of those things are the tools of pressure. And this is the right thing to do if the aggressor is inadequate and doesn't want to stop. These are the tools, the things which would force and push Russia to the negotiations process, to diplomacy. And undoubtedly, in this diplomacy, we'll need both America and Europe.
Let's stay one moment longer with the President of the United States. Has Donald Trump given you any indication that he supports Ukraine joining the European Union?
Donald Trump is supporting Ukraine as the future EU member. We have discussed that with him. He is supporting that, and he understands that this is the choice of the Ukrainian people, and Ukraine is the part of Europe. Geographically, geopolitically, and historically. We were talking about the blockage of some of the points by the Hungarian leader, and I asked President Trump if he supports me in that to help us. So he told me that he will do everything possible, whatever he can.
So the Commission's new enlargement report we are discussing today here delivers a lot of positive content concerning Ukraine. At one point it states, and I quote, "Despite the very difficult circumstances the country finds itself in on account of Russia's war of aggression, Ukraine continued to demonstrate remarkable commitment to the EU accession path over the last year." Remarkable commitment, Mr. President. Does that sound like a compliment to you, or more like much more needs to happen?
For us, it's a very high assessment, evaluation of our work and our service, and I would like to thank for that to the European Union, the Presidents Kostu and Ursula von der Leyen, and all of the leaders who are taking part in this process. And also the technical team, that is how we sometimes say, but the technical team are the huge number of people who are helping Ukraine that much. So for us, it is very important. For us, Ukraine is fighting for its independence, and our future is in the EU, which is the part of our independence, the part of independence from the vector and factor of Russia. And for us, it is an important factor that we are highly assessed during this year. It is not that easy for us during the war to conduct these or those legislative amendments, obviously because of different reasons. I don't want to complain. We are a very strong country opposing Russia and their wish to destroy us. That is why I am sure that we will introduce all of the legislative amendments and other necessary steps. We have faced the task, the assignment, to implement all of that, to prepare all of the clusters till the end of the current year. We will be ready, or at least we will try to do our best, whatever we can, to achieve that. And about that, in my opinion, we have the united country, united population, society, the power authorities, and that's an important factor. I wouldn't like this process to be too long, too lengthy. I mean, the processes which do not depend on us. Those are clusters opening. Why? Well, because the EU factor, the fact that Ukraine is fighting for itself in Europe is very important for the morale, for the moral support, both of our people and all of our military. That is very important, that this is the bilateral movement. And we would really like that to be well assessed by all of the possible institutions and all of the leaders who are sometimes in doubts. So for us, the quicker Ukraine is able to open the clusters and to have the fully fledged negotiations platforms, the better it is for us. It will be a supporting factor for Ukraine.
So as you know, and in the last weeks it was always reported, here in Brussels there are some concerns about judicial independence in Ukraine, especially after the creation of two independent anti-corruption bodies. The enlargement report says, recent negative trends, including a growing pressure on the specialized anti-corruption agencies and civil society, must be decisively reversed. What will you do to address these concerns?
Well, in my opinion, I do not see that in the report. I know that there are certain messages, but I would check the real quotes from the report. But secondly, during the war, we have implemented the widest, the broadest anti-corruption infrastructure in Europe. And I don't know about any country who has that many anti-corruption authorities. Maybe it can be in other countries, but we are doing everything possible. There is a plan, and it's not the plan which we are inventing. This is the plan which we create in the dialogue with the European Union to start the negotiations platform, to open the clusters. Ukraine has to stick to the very specific list of laws and reforms. And that is why, during the war, we need to be more specific in our steps. We are focused on that in a sufficient way. There is a request from Ukraine. Our legislation should coincide or be approximate to the European one. There are certain laws and reforms, and we are implementing them.
An interesting idea discussed here in Brussels, as you know, allow new members in earlier, but without full membership rights at first. Would you be willing to speed up accession, to give up a veto at the beginning?
No, how can I understand that? It seems to me it's very important that we would like that Ukraine could get such a treatment as to the equals. And if we speak about the EU membership, it has to be fully fledged. It seems to me that that is very important when we have at the same table equal countries in spite of their size of the territory or the population. It's important that they share similar values. In my opinion, you cannot be semi or demi-member of the EU.
Talking about veto, there is all eyes on Hungary. So Ukraine had hoped to open 5 clusters. None of them has happened because Hungary blocked it by veto. What would you be prepared to offer Viktor Orban to move this forward?
I'm not sure that Ukraine has to bargain with its own values. Russia failed to do that. So I don't know, I don't think that Ukraine or that the Hungarian leader can do that. You cannot stop the people in their rights. Well, yes, you can postpone something, but it will not be for the use of both our countries. When I'm speaking about our countries, about Ukraine and Hungary, I'm totally sure that Hungarians are very friendly people. They are supporting Ukrainians, as well as the Ukrainians are respecting any nation of Europe. Now, this is the equality, this is the respect and the values of our relations. That is very important for the future. We don't have the right as the leaders to think about ourselves and about our elections, because this is just 1 minute in the history of our nations. That's just nothing in comparison with what can be destroyed relations between the people. This is the most important, not to lose this good neighborhood. That's what's important. I don't think that I have to offer something to Viktor Orban. I think that Viktor Orban has to offer something for Ukraine, which is protecting the whole Europe from Russia. And even now, during this war, we did not get any support from him, support of our vision of life. We wouldn't like still that Viktor would support Russia, because blocking of Ukraine in the EU is the very specific support by Viktor of Putin, and that is definitely not that good. In my opinion, that is my subjective opinion.
There is a totally personal impression from my side. Sometimes it looks a bit personal between you and Viktor Orban. Are you ready to repair this relationship, or are you simply hoping for a government change in Budapest next year?
First of all, I don't think that anyone has the right to influence the choice of the Hungarian people and the elections in Hungary, in Budapest. That is their personal right. This war, the war for the freedom of the country, which is 40 times smaller than the aggressor is, this war will not forget anyone and anything. There will be peace, peaceful times, and we would need to look straight forward into the eyes of each other. We need to have the opportunity to respect each other, and that's it. It's nothing about being personal. It's not about personalities. We are at war for our survival, for our lives. And we would really like the Prime Minister of Hungary to support us, at least not block us. If we do everything, if there are the rules and we comply with them, whatever is needed to open the clusters, we would like us to be respected. And it's not only the respect to us, but the respect of the Hungarian leader to the rules and regulations of the European Union, as Hungary is the member of the EU. Those are the rules. So you need to do lots of important things, and then the cluster after cluster is opened. That is the way.
So let's end with a, let's say, more personal approach, and let us look forward. Where will Ukraine and the EU be in 2030? Or, as I said, in a bit more personal view, will you be the president who brought Ukraine into the EU?
First and foremost, I would like to believe that Ukraine will be in the EU before that.
You open again the timeline. What is your wish, if it's earlier than 2030?
I would like that to take place in the fair way, when Ukraine is standing for itself and when the war is over. I think it would be just and fair, because as I already mentioned, we are at war for this kind of future, for our Ukraine and for the future of Ukraine in Europe. Undoubtedly, I would like to be the president who is the president of Ukraine, which is in the EU. But it does not mean, definitely, that this is the main priority. The main thing is that Ukraine could join the EU. But who is the president then, at the moment, is the secondary thing.
So thank you for this preview, a bit of personal previews. Thank you for being our guest today, and have a good and successful day. And when we wish you that, it's much more than just a polite closing. So thank you for coming on the Europe Conversation.
Thank you.